Hello students. Today we'll be studying about language development. After studying this module, you shall be able to know the different aspects of language, various theories of language and how language develops during infancy, learn various intricate processes involved in development of language during infancy, identify what are the various components of language, evaluate the major changes in the theories of language development, analyze the various milestones in language acquisition during infancy. Humans are undoubtedly the most evolved species in the planet. Helping us rule this planet is not just our mental capacity, but also our ability to communicate in intricate details. In today's world, a day without cell phone is big worry for anyone. Imagine what a disaster it would have been if we were not able to communicate in any way. In a way, our ability to communicate is one of the most evolved skills we have. Millions of years of evolution have attempts at communication have finally resulted in what we have today. A language, a sophisticated system of communication between two or more persons. Language development is one of the most incredible accomplishments of humans. Every newborn, though not being able to speak, eventually picks up a language. But before they speak, the first word they already start to communicate using various signs and gestures. Hearing the baby's first cry is a dream come true for any parent. Hearing his first word is the best music any parent can hear. What could be more exciting for a parent than hearing the first words mama or papa from the baby's mouth? As the few syllables combine into words and words grow into sentences and later into conversation, one of the miracles of life happens in the child's life. A miracle called language development. Language truly marks a significant defining achievement in the child's life. The famous radical behaviorist B.F. Skinner believed that language development is not innate in nature, rather it is acquired from experiences through the process of reinforcement mediated by other persons from the environment. On the other hand, Noam Chomsky believed that children are born with certain tendencies which enable all of them to speak their first word at certain period of time. This module will focus on what language is, how we define it, what the various components of language are. After having some basic understanding of what language is, we shall study the various theories of language development. The major theories include behavioral perspective, which believes that language development is acquired from the environment, and biological perspective, which emphasizes language development as an inborn tendency. It will be followed by the various changes taking place in the process of language development in infancy. Language. Defining language. Imagine a life without language. What a great misery it would be if we were not able to express our needs and desires. Language is one of the unique and advanced characteristics that we possess which distinguishes humans from other animals. Language is a form of communication based on a system of symbols and rules for combining them in such a manner that can produce an infinite number of meaningful phrases and sentences. Language does not include only the verbal form of communication, but also consists of written, signs and symbols that we use in order to express our views and ideas to others. Different kinds of languages are spoken in different cultures, but all human languages share some general characteristics like infinite generativity and organizational rules. Infinite generativity is the ability to generate an infinite number of phrases and sentences that have novel meaning by combining a finite set of words and rules. It involves production of n number of meaningful phrases and sentences based on 26 alphabets, that is A to Z, in English language. Components of language. A person does not speak or use any language randomly. A proper understanding of a set of rules is essential in order to speak the language in the correct manner. Language involves a highly ordered and organized system. Phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics, as well as pragmatics, are the major elements of language. Phonology. Phonology deals with sound in a language. Traditionally, it has focused mainly on phonemes, the smallest contrastive linguistic units, which can bring a change in the meaning of words. For instance, the words hit and him carry entirely different meanings just because of the exchange of phonemes, the T and M. Phonology is the study of these fundamental sound units and combinations of unit sounds that make up language. It includes the rules governing the structure and sequence of speech, sound as how sounds are used, and the rules about how different sounds are combined. Syllables are the smallest units of speech perception, made up of two or more phonemes. Some of them are meaningful but others are not. Example: at is a meaningful syllable but ab is not. Morphology. Morphology is the study of language morphemes and other linguistic units such as root words, affixes, parts of speech. Sandrock defined morphology as the system of meaningful units involved in a word formation. A morpheme is a unit of sound that conveys specific meaning. For instance, the word distasteful consists of three morphemes, which are dis indicate negation, taste indicates a meaningful word, and full means quality. Not all morphemes are words by themselves. It can be prefixes, words, and suffices. Morphemes are similar to syllables, but all morphemes convey meaning. Syntax. Syntax is the system or the definite rules that govern the making of meaningful phrases and sentences. It involves the way the words are combined to form phrases and sentences which are proper and logical. Word order is very important in determining meaning in English language. For example, the sentence David saw Ravi has a different meaning than Ravi saw David. Semantics. The semantics is the study of meaning conveyed by words, phrases, sentences, and texts. In basic terms, semantics deal with the meanings of signs and the relationship between different linguistic units and compounds. Every word has a set of semantic features or required attributes related to meaning. For example, the word boy and man share many semantic features, but they convey different meanings with respect to age. Pragmatics. Pragmatics is the system of using appropriate conversation and knowledge of how to use language effectively in different contexts. It involves speaking to have some kind of impact on others. It is the ability to comprehend the subtle meanings of spoken language. It also deals with how we modify our sentences and our way of speech to suit the prevailing situation. Theories of language development. During early 19th century, very less studies were done to understand the concept of language. The behaviorists like Watson felt that production of language was due to the muscular contraction of larynx and glandular secretion, and Skinner gave the concept of verbal learning by stating that language was learned through reinforcement. The growth in the field of language development turned a new path with the recognition of the work done by the linguist Noam Chomsky in the mid-90s. The advances made in cognitive psychology and neurophysiology with the elucidation of functions of different parts of the human brain has thrown new light on how language develops. The behavioral and biological perspectives of language development address the nature versus nurture controversies in the understanding of the process involved in language development. The interactionist perspective believed that the language develops through an intricate combination of innate as well as experiential learning. Behavioral perspective. The behaviorists' perspectives emphasized on the role of environment and learned experiences in language acquisition. According to the famous behaviorist B.F. Skinner, language is a complex learned skill. Language is considered as a behavior acquired through reinforcement. He believed that humans acquired language through reinforcement by the others in the society. When a child babbles the words mama, dada or papa, they are rewarded with smiles, kisses and hugs from their parents, so the baby starts to repeat those words again and again, and in this manner language develops in the child. The main shortcoming of behavioral perspective is that it does not explain how people create new and novel sentences which they have never heard or spoken before. Children learn grammar of their own native language even if they are not reinforced for doing so, and it also fails to explain the extensive orderliness of language. Biological perspective. No matter what language a child speaks, some similar pattern is followed all over the world. The similar pattern of development of language across different countries and the universality in the development during similar age in reaching particular milestones indicates a biological or inherent basis of language development. All children learn babbling at around 6 months, first words at 1 year, telegraphic speech in 2nd year, and acquire sudden increase in vocabulary at the age of 2, etc. All these achievements suggest that the process of language development is controlled by maturation. It highlights that language development has a biological basis. The interactionist's perspective. Although the behavioral approach has been criticized for many reasons and is no longer considered to be a practical explanation of language development, the role of environment in language development can't be denied, and it has been supported by various research findings. Burko found that children whose parents and caregivers provide them with rich verbal environment show many positive benefits in language development as compared to those who live in poor language environment. For example, a child brought up in a joint family or extended family often has more communicative skills than a child brought up in a nuclear family with working parents. The interactionist's perspective of language development believes that language development in children results from the interaction between inner capacities and environmental influences. Pakulik and Neville in 2010 stated that recent advances in neuroimaging allows for the investigation of the neurobiological basis of language and the effects of environmental and genetic factors on neural organization of language in children. Latest innovations in neuroimaging have enabled elaborate studies of effects of environmental, genetic factors on neurobiology of language development. Research using these techniques with children from a wider range of socio-economic backgrounds has led to a more complete characterization of the developmental time course of language subsystems and effects of environmental factors on this development. Language development. A child does not start to speak the moment they are born into the world. Language development occurs gradually over a period of many years. However, it has certain milestones achieved at certain predetermined ages. No matter how hard a person may try to train them, they will not be able to speak until they reach a particular age. Parents start worrying if their child is not able to speak by the age of 2 or 3 years. Apart from walking, language development is one of the major accomplishments made by the baby, which is eagerly awaited by the parents. Whatever the child's mother tongue is, child follows similar patterns and trained in the language development. Language development covers not only the development taking place when a child starts to speak verbally, rather, it also involves how a child uses various signs, and gestures in order to attract attention and communicate before they acquire the ability to convey their message verbally. Language development during infancy. Every child is born with certain inherent capacities to acquire language. During the first year of verbal communication develops by virtue of sensitivity to language, cognitive and social skills, and environmental support. The first skill to develop is phonological. It enables recognition and utilization of sound units and combining them into words, clauses, and phrases. Most of the infants are not able to generate a complete sentence till the age of 2, and the ability to continue to develop through childhood years and adolescence, and further refinement takes place till adulthood. Pre-linguistic phase. A process of pre-linguistic development gradually takes place before the child even acquires the first steps of verbal communication. Babies actively produce different sounds right from birth onwards to attract attention from their caregivers. Babies' sounds and gestures go through the following sequences during their first year. Crying is the first verbal output in a person's life. It is a gift and a skill that comes inherently with all the babies and manifests right at the moment of birth. Even the most naive and innocent cries can signal different meanings such as hunger, distress, or pain. Cooing is another milestone in language development that most babies acquire at about 1 to 2 months. It is a vowel-like utterance made by babies, for example, the sound oo, which is quite pleasant to hear and often described as a baby's first attempt to vocalize. It usually occurs when they are interacting with their caregivers. Babbling may be said to be the first real attempt of a child to speak. It is the ability of the child to combine and use both vowel and consonant sounds for the first time, a milestone achieved somewhere between the age of 3 to 6 months. It includes strings of combinations of vowels and consonants such as ba or da. They further continue to refine these abilities in subsequent months. By 7 months, the infant can repeat well-formed syllables like dada, baba, nana, etc., which is known as canonical babbling. Using gesture as a communication tool is another important milestone that appears at the age of 8 to 12 months. By this age, children start using gestures like showing, pointing, or giving as a means to communicate and attract the attention from other people. Though not able to speak in words at this age, they can use different gestures to communicate with others, like waving bye, nodding to say yes, and moving the head from left to right and right to left to say no, pointing fingers to kitchen when hungry, etc. Recognizing language sound. Before a child begins to learn words, he attains the ability to distinguish the sound pattern of any language. Researchers have found that from birth to 6 months of age, children are considered to be citizens of world and not just a particular nation. At this age, they can recognize any sound no matter what language the syllable comes from. But over the next 6 months, the child gets better at perceiving the sounds of his own native language. By 8 months, they acquire the ability to detect the word boundaries, written in a major accomplishment in their development, because it is very important to understand the individual word from the non-stop stream of words to be able to speak accurately. First words. Infants indicate their first understanding of words at the age of 8 to 12 months. By the age of 13 months, they can understand around 50 words, but they can't speak these many words until 18 months. Their receptive language, that is, their ability to comprehend and understand, far exceeds their spoken language, that is, their ability to say and produce the words. At this period, it is observed that the child understands the meaning of words spoken to him by their parents and can perform some of the action if it is instructed properly by the parents or the caregivers. Infant's first word is a milestone which is most eagerly awaited by all parents. It usually occurs at about 10 to 15 months of age and on average at about 13 months. A child's first words are influenced by the small numbers of sounds they can pronounce. The easiest sound sequences starts from the consonant and ends with vowels and include repeated syllables like mama, dada, nana, etc. Children's first few words include the name of important people like mama, dada, familiar animals like kitty, toys like ball, vehicles like car, etc. Usually, a child may use the same word but mean different things. For example, mama may mean the baby is hungry or he wants to be picked up. From about the age of 18 months onwards, there is a rapid increase in the ability to acquire new words. It is found that the average 18-month-old child can speak as many as about 50 words, but by the age of 2 years, they can speak approximately 200 words. This rapid increase in the vocabulary that begins at approximately 18 months is called vocabulary spurt. The timings of a child's first words and vocabulary spurt may vary in different children. Sandrock mentioned that the age for the production of first words in children ranges from 10 to 17 months and for vocabulary spurt ranges from 13 to 25 months. Two-word utterances. By the age of 18 to 24 months, they can usually combine and utter two words. At this age, they are not able to produce the whole sentence. Rather, they mainly use only two words in order to communicate with others. At this age, children depend a lot on gestures, tones, and the context as they make an effort to convey the meaning with just two words. Following are the few two-word utterances made by children. Identification by, for example, see ball. Location, for example, book there. Repetition, more milk. Negative, for example, not sit. Possession, for example, my doggy. Attribution, for example, big car. Agent action, example, mama wave. Question, for example, where ball. Telegraphic speech is another skill acquired in infancy. Sandrock defined it as the ability to use short words, that is phrases and incomplete sentences without grammatical markers such as articles, auxiliary verbs and other connectives. A rapid expansion in vocabulary and understanding of words occurs by the age of 18 to 24 months. Thus, throughout infancy, language acquisition occurs gradually under the influence of genetic endowments and environmental influences. The pace and the efficiency with which an infant learns to speak and communicate in a language can be quite astounding. It is nothing short of a miracle of life, a recap of the millions of years of evaluation mankind has passed through. Summary. Language is a means of communication acquired in our lifetime, a skill not present at birth but acquired soon afterwards. The definition of language includes not only the verbal form of communication but also consists of written, sign and symbols that we use in order to express our views and ideas to others. The language we speak is not used randomly. Every language follows certain systems of rules. Language is highly ordered and organized. It involves several components like phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. There are different theories of languages and none of them are totally convincing, yet each is important in its own way. The behaviorists' perspectives emphasized on the role of environment and learned experiences in language acquisition. The similar pattern of development of language across different countries and the universality in the development during similar age groups forms the basis of biological theory. The interactionist perspective believed that the language develops through an intricate combination of innate as well as experiential learning. Certain milestones in language acquisition indicate a biological pre-programmed pattern. These include cooing at 1 to 2 months, babbling at 6 months, use of gestures at 8 to 12 months, and speaking of the first word at around 13 months. Language development begins in early infancy and gradually picks up throughout childhood.